So in order to keep this flowing, I'm going to introduce our first speaker. We're very honored to have this gentleman. He came all the way from Germany, and he arrived last night. So if he's got a little jet lag, don't blame it on us. No, he's got a little jet lag because he's traveled hard. Pat Eckert, he's a certified water sommelier, entrepreneur, and he's a visionary behind Fine Liquids. It's a premier international distributor of rare and exclusive mineral waters. He's based in Germany. Eckert has established himself as a leading authority in the fine waters movement, combining a unique background in psychiatric care, which I really want to learn about, and award-winning media design to approach water with both sensory empathy and aesthetic rigor. So with that, let's bring up and give a hand to Pat Eckert.
So, this here is a visual, and I think it's curious, first of all. And it's getting more and more curious when I'm talking about that. This is a fiole, and this is including 1 milliliter of Earth's water. What means I created a cuvée with over 200 waters from all across planet Earth. And I put it into 1 milliliter to bring it to outer space this year. That's my main project this year. I do this together with Samuel Stubblefield. He's an artist working in New York and based in Seattle. And we're bringing this up to there inside a Falcon 9 as payload by Astroforge. Astroforge is an asteroid mining robot company, and they want to mine the asteroids. Think that till its end, which would mean, think about we would no longer have to mine these rare earths on planet Earth. Think about what that means. But at the end, my project is to bring this water back. And what is the difference between water in outer space? Yes, there is water in outer space, a lot more than we have on planet Earth. The difference is the water in outer space never touched life, but this milliliter touched life for the last 4.5 billion years. It circulated all around the globe, and it touched life. And that is the reason why we want to bring this message from planet Earth back to outer space. Bringing these fuel onto an asteroid which would be circulating around in our solar system for the rest of time. Einen schönen guten Tag zusammen. I'm feeling really honored to kick off this 36th annual Berkeley Springs International Water Tasting. Thank you for inviting me, Jill and Arthur. It's a pleasure to be here. So you might think that's crazy, but for me that's what we have to do. I'm in water now since maybe 15 years. So yeah, I drink water for all my life, but 15 years ago I started to explore what does water mean. And above water, we are in a world, I think sometimes it's boring and it's gray on one hand. And on the other hand, it's super loud and crazy and fancy and bling bling. And somewhere in between, we can find this space of silence where we can get grounded and where we calm down. And inside this space, I created a room, and this room is called Water Tastings. And this is what I want to talk about today. So, the big cycle of water, and what does water mean for us as humans or for life, and what is a water tasting all about? So my name is Pat Eckert. I'm a water sommelier, as Arthur just mentioned. It was more by accident. I was a guy who just selling good waters, but then I met some water sommeliers, and I thought, my God, what can they tell about water? That's crazy shit. Minerals and stuff like that. So meanwhile, I think I'm not only a water sommelier, I'm also a water disruptor. And that means I try to change perspective. Perspective, how we think and how we talk about water. So it's invisible. So you can nearly look through that. And we are so used to, so that it does not really play a role. But that is not the truth. It does play a role. Okay, what is the next thing? Yeah, Berkeley Springs. George Washington, 200 years ago, he was here, and I think you all know it much better than me. But I was really excited when I heard, okay, his brother health issues, and he found these mineral springs. And the result of this path was that Berkeley Springs was the very first spa town in the US. Cool. And now we are here. That's wonderful. Okay. You can do a water tasting, and it's very boring because you're just drinking water. Or you can level it up. And what I realized is when I'm doing a water tasting, people are opening and they say, and what about this? And what about that? And then I realized, okay, when you're doing a water tasting with 60 minutes, that's not enough. You cannot answer all the questions. And that's the reason why I wrote my second book. It's just finished, unpublished, so you are the first audience to hear parts of that book. But there is something unusual in this book, and that is I thought about what would water say if water could talk to us? What would water say? So I wrote this book by the perspective of water. What means when I now read stuff from that book, it's not me, it's the water talking to you, okay? I try to bring my voice a little bit down so that you can understand, okay, now it must be water. You believe you know us. You drink us. Wash yourselves. Swim. You are 2/3 us. Without us, no life, no tear. And yet, what do you really know? You know our formula, H2O. Simple, you think. 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen, but simplicity deceives. We expand when we freeze. We float as ice. We store heat like almost no other substance. And yet, we barely exist for you. 97% is saline. 2/3 of the rest is locked in ice. Less than 1% drinkable. We are older than the Earth itself. We existed in the primordial nebula from which the solar system was born. We traveled on comets. We were in the rock before life was. The water you drink today was once part of a dinosaur, a pharaoh, a cloud above the Himalayas. We have been circulating for billions of years. Not a single drop is lost. Think about that. Every part, every single drop exists for all this time. For all this time. Yeah, here. Cheers. Stemware. I don't know if you drink water from stemware. I like it. Cheers. When I start a water tasting, I always start with stemware. And most of the people think, what is he doing? Yes, he's a water sommelier. Oh my God, he's drinking water from a white wine glass. Why? It's easy. Think about it. If I would pour in water in a white wine glass for you, you would think, okay, he's fancy, blah, blah. But then something must be different. I have to pay attention. Maybe it's something special. And that is the point. You think of that. And that creates attention and it creates awareness. And then you will expect special things and you will taste special things. That's very easy. So a tasting with water in an ideal framework lasts around about 60 minutes. We take 4 to 6 waters, the half still, the half sparkling. We start super light with waters with nearly no mineral content, maybe an alpine water or a glacial water, and then we increase that over the mineral waters up to then sparkling, starting with effervescent. So Arthur, you just mentioned Italy. I think Italy really has the best effervescent waters, super tiny bubbles. And then we increase that to super bold, high bubbled waters. And we end up with the big boys. I don't know if you know big boys. In Germany we say Heilwasser. But when we try to find out what is Heilwasser all about, Heilwasser just means we have a mineral content over 3,000, 4,000, 7,000, up to 20,000 milligrams per liter. I don't know if you ever tasted a water like this. And when I'm coming to this water, a lot of European guys say, oh no, I don't like that. I had that when I was a child with my grandma. She liked that. I hated it. I won't drink it. Yes, as children, we hated stuff like that because we wanted, Arthur, we wanted chocolate. So that's easy. Because we were children, but now we are grown up. So now we drink gin tonic and whiskey and we like spicy food. And we forgot about these waters. So I just found a door to open the access to Heilwasser. Why not thinking in another way, disrupt that? So I say, let's have a sip of grown-up lemonade. And that's easy. People think, yeah, why should every lemonade just be salty, sweet and fizzy? Why not salty? And that opens everything. First impression, oh, wow, salty, oh. And then, woo, what is that? And after the tasting, people are falling in love with waters like that. I had a guest in London, and he disturbed my keynote permanently and my tasting permanently. And at the end, he came to me, and he said, oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were crazy, but this last water, Vytautas from Lithuania, what is that? I found my water. 70 years old, and he found his water. But that was Vytautas. Vytautas has a mineral content from around about 8,000, and it's pure salt. Pure salt. You won't get that salt out of your mouth for over an hour. It's inside, you cannot lose it. And he said, yes, I've got it. So, grown-up lemonade, why not? And that's the point. So, in a water tasting, I can display the bandwidth, the full spectrum of that, what water really is. Most of us don't know the full spectrum. We just know the mainstream waters. We know from the grocery stores. We know from our region where we live. But at the end, the bandwidth is so much bigger. And with fine liquids, I have access to these waters, and so I can help people to bring those waters to them. Yeah, but before we talk more about those minerals and about taste, we must go back much further back to the beginning of everything. So listen again to water. I try to speak a little bit deeper. Genesis, born from stardust. Within the Big Bang, hydrogen emerged first. Simple, everywhere. But alone, it could become nothing. It needed a partner, oxygen. And oxygen had to be forged first. It was hammered out in the hearts of dying stars. Over billions of years, through generations of suns that burned and exploded, seeding space with the building blocks of the future. First generation of stars were giants, unstable titans of pure hydrogen and helium. But they were primitive. They left behind no planets, no rocks, and above all, no water. They burned through their substance in a blink of an eye. Then they exploded. No destruction. A birth through tearing. In these early supernovae, the first heavy elements were born. Every sip you take is the physical testament to this history. The atoms in your body were forged in dying stars. The oxygen you breathe was once trapped in the heart of a sun. You are literally made of stardust. And I, not me, the water, and I am the binding agent that shapes this dust into life. So now you get a feeling how water tasting with me works. So it's not about only drinking water, it's about Big Bang. Hydrogen, billions of years, supernovae, stuff like that. So when we're starting with lightly waters, that's the closest we can get to what water was before it touched the ground. So when you're thinking about the water cycle, whenever on the ocean the dust is going to the clouds, all minerality is getting lost. So the water is pure again. And then within the water cycle, it touches the ground and it does its job. Give me the minerals. Give me the minerals. And that's why all these waters taste so differently. It does not stay pure. And that is the reason why. Oh, shit. Now, this was the slide for what I just said right now. Technique. So where are we now? Yes, I think that's right. Is that right? Okay, I think it will fit. The earth shapes the taste. When calcium hums within me, I remind you of chalk, of bright cliffs that store the sun. Calcium ions dock onto the same receptor that recognizes sugar. This is why I often taste slightly sweet, almost milky when I am rich in calcium. When sodium sharpens my trail, I carry a faint memory of the sea. Magnesium adds bitter shadows, like the roughness of a stone wall after a rainstorm. Bicarbonate is my diplomat. It buffers acids, neutralizes aggression, and makes me soft and broad. Still, when I rest, sparkling when carbon dioxide dances within me. Two distinct voices. Carbonation works like a fine rain running over leaves, refreshing the landscape of the mouth. This is how I become terroir. A drop from the Alps does not taste like a drop from the desert. I carry rock, soil, and time. I bring landscape to the tongue, rendering geology potable. A sip is geography, not read, but tasted. So, and that is the core of water tastings. It's about sensoric, remarkable moments. So when you never ever had a few different waters next to each other, you might think water tastes like water. But remember, all of you, you're just thirsty, and that's a reason for drinking water. And so you take this sip, and Your thirst is gone and all is good. All you think is nothing. You don't think about the water. Maybe you think, oh, that water was not really good, but you will never think, oh, that was good water, because you were just thirsty, okay? So, but when you're doing a water tasting, you have all these different experiences, and you can find out, what? I never liked this kind of water, and that's bicarbonate. Oh my God, now I understand the labels. There is bicarbonate. I will never buy bicarbonated water again. Why should I? Because what is the goal of a water tasting? To help you finding your water profiles, your water preferences, your needs, and at the end, and that's the goal, finding out how can you manage your drinking routine. Because we have to drink these 2.5 liters per day, and everybody here knows it's a challenge. Maybe not every day, but we have a lot of days where it is a challenge, even for me. When I don't start drinking in the morning directly with 2 glasses, I lose this time. And I look on my watch and I see, oh my God, it's 3 p.m. How much have I drunk? Not enough. So it's very important to find water you really like, so that it's no longer a challenge, but something you can do without any issues. Yeah. And I'm talking about what are these waters about. I met a guy from Peridot, from Hungary, just here we met. And you know what you told me about deuterium? Deuterium? That's crazy stuff, and nobody knows that. So when I'm doing a tasting, I would really like to have Peridot inside to tell people, how does this inflect your kind of living when you are using a deuterium low water? That's really necessary to understand, and so many people don't understand. So a water tasting also helps people to be informed. We do not know enough about water. As I said, we are 2/3 water, but we don't know what we really need to know to stay healthy and get old with health. How many time is left? I'm very slow, I think. 10 minutes? 10 minutes, okay. Be fast. Yeah, that's what I talked about. Terroir and taste. Terroir means, as in wine, you know, the rain comes down and the ground is forming how the stuff tastes. And that's the same to water. Okay, but I want to talk about the inner sea. Let's listen to the water again. The inner sea. 2/3 of you is me. A newborn, 75%. In an adult, 60. In the elderly, 50. Do the math. To grow old is to go dry. Life is moisture. Death is the slow withdrawal of my presence from your cells. Your blood is 90% water. The pH of your blood is 7.5, 7.4. Slightly alkaline, and this value corresponds exactly to the oceans of 500 million years ago, when your ancestors still lived in the sea. Your blood remembers. It carries the chemistry of the primordial ocean within it. The salt concentration of 0.9% matches the sea of the past, those waters from which the first life crawled onto land. You have preserved the sea of your ancestors. You carry geological time in your veins. So do you see the big picture of that? Sometimes we think we are not connected, but we are. That's cosmic resonance. Here on Earth, with all other living, and also with all this time that this universe exists. I don't want that you think that's esoteric. And I think it's not esoteric. Think about when we're drinking now a drop of this Berkeley Springs water, which I really enjoyed last night, 2 bottles, wonderful water. It's just for this moment where you drink Berkeley Springs water. After that, it is you. And after that, when you lose that, it's getting back into the water circle. And it's going back to the cycle on Earth. Since 4.5 billion years, we are connected. We are not alone. Yes. So hurry up, Mr. Eckert. Okay, look at him. This is Lu Yu. The art of drinking. What Lu Yu began with brush and ink, water sommeliers continue today. They taste me like wine. They smell, swirl, and pause. They taste the difference between limestone and basalt, between volcanic rock and glacial ice. They speak of minerality, mouthfeel, and finish. For heaven's sake, no ice and no lemon, says Martin Rees in Los Angeles. I don't know if you know him. Yeah, and he's right with what he says here, because ice numbs your tongue, lemon drowns out my voice. You want to hear me? Then stop shouting over me. Luxury is not the price tag. Luxury is the attention paid. The tastings do not end with the most expensive water. They end the next morning with the water from your own tap. With the question, do you taste now what you did not see before? If so, the tasting worked. Not because you are now buying premium, but because you finally know what you like. So, Lu Yu was a scholar in the 8th century. He was a tea master. 1200 years ago, he explored and evaluated the quality of water to check out which water is the best fit to this tea. "1,200 years ago. So now we are here." I think that's not snobbery, that's physics. You know, you can drink water with ice and you can drink it with lemon. That's not the thing. But you cannot do it in a tasting. When you really want to find out what is this water all about, you can't do this. So that's the point of a water tasting. And you, for sure, you can go with additional stuff. You can say, okay, why not adding high quality chocolate? Why not mixing mocktails? Why not pairing with food, with wine, with spirits? But that's additional. These are other playgrounds. For a standard water tasting, that's not needed. Nobody needs that. And at last, there is one thing we also have to talk about, and I think we will talk about that today, and that is the quality of water. Because when this guy did that in the past, he did that with really natural waters. There was not that kind of pollution we have today, not these issues that we have today. So that's an ideal moment, but today we have issues we have to face. So in my tastings, I also talk about what water do you drink at home? So what quality does your tap water really have? And is there a filtration needed? And if needed, do you have a family? What kind of technique should you use for filtration at home? So that's a holistic thing in my tastings, so that people, when they are going home, really have the feeling, okay, I learned a lot about water, and I know how to find my water, and I can filter my water at home, and I have a good feeling for my family and for my kids. So, and that's why we should look, I'm coming close to the end, at the great thirst. The truth about consumption. This is about virtual water. I don't know if you know the concept of virtual water. I tell you, or the water tells you. You believe you know your water consumption. A glass to drink, a shower in the morning, 120 liters per day. That is visible. But that is only the 10th of the truth. 90% of your water consumption is invisible, hidden in the products you buy. 8,000 liters float to dye and wash the jeans on your legs. In your smartphone rest over 12,000 liters. Every bite of a burger devours the rain of entire pastures. An avocado tree consumes more water than a human being. Whoa! Whoa! And that's about giving context. So if you value water, you no longer waste it. We have falling aquifers. We're taking more water than Mother Nature can give back. So I know there are examples where we lost complete aquifers in between 50 years, but these aquifers took 10,000 years to get filled up. So when you hear about cities which are sinking, was heißt sinking? Sinking. Cities, Mexico, sinking, and I think 70% of all Chinese cities are sinking. That's not because they are so heavy. That's because they lost their groundwater. It's like these balloons, air balloons. I saw air balloons. They are filled with air. When they lose their air, they are shrinking, and that's with the aquifers. When we lose our groundwater, we destroy the aquifers. That's a hard issue. Yeah, but it's not about giving up. It's about seeing ahead. So how do we view water? And so the goal of my tasting is not only knowledge, it's about unforgettable events, sensorically remarkable moments. So it is a question, can you still drink unconsciously after having a tasting with me? I help people finding their water and their view on water. So finally, water speaks one last time. Now you might be thirsty, not only for a drink, but for a new way of being. Go back into your world. We will see each other in the next rain, in the next snowfall, in the next heartbeat. A drop releases, another emerges. Silence, evaporation. You are I. Technique. Yeah, for sure. The thing is, it's unpublished yet, just finished, but my last book was just in German, and I had that big problem that a lot of people said, that's not okay. So, so I have it in the English translation, so in the final stage, and I do my very best to publish it this year in somewhere in America, yes. No, the first one I will never provide, but this one I wrote about, this will be published hopefully this year. Yeah, please. Yeah. What do you mean with how to calculate that? Yeah. Yeah. I think we do have a lot of companies which are not interested in letting you know how much water you use therefore. I don't know. I know there are a lot of people out there with wonderful ideas, and it's up to these people to do stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I know just when you're talking about the data centers, my friend and colleague Milind Patel, he works for Google and for Apple and for Facebook in regards to for the data centers as water sommelier, and he's working with them together on these concepts to bring the data centers into the ocean, because then we will not use water because it's cold enough, and the same when we do it in outer space, what Elon Musk tries to do. So everybody is aware of what we are doing, and Google and Tesla, for example, are very good in reusing the water. So in Germany, they have to do it like that, and so they are major players in doing the best what they can, better than other companies. Yeah. I'm laughing because yesterday a couple booked a tasting in Heidelberg at my place from London. So they're traveling really to meet just for this tasting. Actually, there is nothing planned in the US, but you can book a tasting virtually. What means I send over a box with the water, with some instructions, and then we schedule a call and we do it together. And that's what I do worldwide. That works really good, but you are heartily invited to come over to Heidelberg. Any questions?
As the water would say, Dankeschön. Vielen Dank. He's wonderful.